Hi everyone, it's Ileana and I have a few cards to share with you today. I'm going to be using this reverse confetti geometric background and I've picked out 4 colors and I have a piece of black cardstock here. I did run out of my favorite stick it adhesive and so I just put some adhesive on the back of this black panel, but it's absolutely not necessary to do this step and I'll tell you about that later. I'm taking each one of my colors and I'm just going to run them through my die cut with the geometric background from Reverse Confetti. And the best trick that I learned is that when you do these piecing together things, you need to get some press and seal. I have cut some pieces of the press and seal into smaller workable pieces, and every time I cut my colors out, I put the press and seal on the back and then I peel that off and then all the pieces come off and they're all in one place in order. Here I am taking another black piece of cardstock. I've added adhesive to the back of it because I'm totally out of my favorite stick it. I'm going to take that die cut that was had the adhesive on the back of it. So this is why it's not necessary to put the adhesive on the back of this particular piece, because you're going to use that other adhesive lined cardstock to hold everything together. You could use liquid or spray glue, but this is the easiest way just to save time, at least in my opinion. And I'm still going to keep all of those little pieces in order, and I'm just going to lightly press this down. This Elizabeth Craft adhesive, it is really great adhesive. It's super strong, but once you put something down, you're not getting it back up. So you have to be very careful with it. But it is great adhesive. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to add those little pieces like a puzzle, and it really helps that all of the pieces are in order. So making a pattern is extremely easy. So to end up with the 6 cards, you need to cut out 1 panel of each color. You need to cut out 2 black panels, and you also need 4 white panels, and you won't use the inside pieces of the white panel. I wanted to do more of a rainbow order, and so I'm starting off with my pink, and then I'll move on to the yellow and then the green and a blue shade. And these are just colors that really caught my attention in my stash, and I thought they went really well together and they're very bold, and I really liked that because I think that this pattern is just, I'm not sure, it's just I just really like it. I can't explain it. It's just one of those things where you know that, wow, I like that. Earlier I did cut off the edges just so that my palm would quit sticking to the adhesive on the outside edge. So for the cards that I went in rainbow order, I used a black grid for my background, and on the ones where I staggered the colors and used my black pieces to fill in, I used a white grid. So for my sentiment, I am going to stamp the Color My World from the Halftone circles from Altenew, and I've lined it up in my MISTI. And so I've tried to line it up on the line, and I'm just going to test it out to see if it's straight. And there is a little bit of a curve on the end, so I'm adjusting that using the grid lines of my MISTI. So now that I have adjusted it a little bit, I'm going to test it again. And this time I am happy with it. And I can see where the sentiment falls in between the grid lines of my gridded paper. And now I'm just going to take my small 1/4-inch strip and I'm just going to line it up where right over that sentiment. And I'm just going to use my magnets to hold it in place. Now, since I only want the Color My World, I don't want the U from the sentiment, I'm going to cover up the U with a sticky note. And so I'm just adding some embossing ink to the part of the sentiment that I want to see. You also want to remove the sticky note before you make your impression. Now I'm just going to add some Alabaster embossing powder, and I'm going to use a dry brush to remove any of the powder that is kind of stray. It really is noticeable when you do white on black, so I'm always aware, and I take the time to use a tiny, tiny little brush to remove any specks. The brush I'm using is called a spotter brush. I'm going to take a card base and I'm going to score it with my score pal, and I'm just going to add my card panel. Earlier I did trim the sticky off the sides of my card front just so my palm wouldn't stick. Because I used black cardstock to build my card front, you won't be able to see where I trimmed down the panel. I've added some black foam so that I could adhere it to my card base. So I'm just going to center this. I did put a white background so that I could see a little bit better. It's kind of really hard to center something when your grid mat is black and your cardstock is black, so I like to add that underneath so I can see a little bit better. I used an Avery Elle die called Simply Said You die, and it's one of my favorite dies that has the word you on it. It's like the right size. And I've cut it out of several pieces of white cardstock, and then I use some white glitter paper for the very top. And I am going to adhere my U to the front, and I did trim my Color My World so that there was an angle on the end, and I tried to follow the angle of the descender on the U. I'm sorry, on the Y. So I've added some adhesive to the back of the U and I've got it into place, and now I'm going to use my bar magnet to hold it in place. Remember, I have a sheet of metal underneath my cutting mat, and so it's really awesome that I could use my bar magnet to secure my sentiments when I use liquid adhesive, because it does take a while for those to dry. Now I'm just trimming off the end of my sentiment so that it goes in the same direction as the edge of my panel. So these are the cards that I made, and I did use all of the pieces. I just kind of worked with the pieces so that I could get them all in place. And the two black panels that I had cut, I used those to fill in these. And so these look more of a stained glass. So with all of those panels, I ended up with 6 cards. And then I embellished them with some jewels from Lucy Abrams and Pretty Pink Posh. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.